Hey there, future millionaires. Did you know that 80% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, even those earning six figures? And that 78% of people fail to achieve the financial goals they set for themselves. But not you. Not after today's 7 secrets to crushing your financial goals. I went from bankruptcy to 7 figures, and I'm about to show you exactly how I did it. What's up, everyone? I'm JD Gibson, pharmacist turned entrepreneur and dad of 2 man children. I love them. And as we journey through 2025, it's the perfect time to reflect on our financial aspirations and make a plan to achieve them quickly. Having clear financial goals can make a huge difference in our overall well-being and happiness. I know because I've lived both sides of that equation. My journey from drowning into debt to financial freedom taught me that anyone can transform their money situation with the right knowledge. So let's get started on this journey together. One of the biggest hurdles people face when trying to meet their financial goals is lack of planning. Without a clear roadmap, it's easy to get sidetracked and lose focus. And I've been there too, feeling overwhelmed by the sheer amount of work that needs to be done and not knowing where to start. It's like trying to navigate a maze without a map. I remember staring at my mountain of bills in 2014 with bill collectors calling during our family dinners. I had cabinets full of anxiety and blood pressure meds because I literally couldn't sleep at night. I had pulled us out of bankruptcy in 2012, but we had already sunk back into a financial hole. The darkness surrounded me like some evil spirit, spreading stress and completely inescapable pressure. And another common challenge is a lack of motivation. And let's face it, saving money and investing, it can be boring, and it's easy to put it off until tomorrow. But the problem is, tomorrow often turns into the next week, and then next month, or even next year. And before you know it, we're stuck in a rut, wondering why we haven't made any progress. We'd rather binge watch Netflix than review our investment strategy. I get it. A lack of resources can also hold us back from achieving our financial goals. Maybe we don't earn enough, or maybe we have too many expenses to deal with. Whatever the reason, it's easy to feel stuck between a rock and a hard place. I've had clients tell me, JD, I can barely make rent. How am I supposed to invest? Lastly, there's the fear of failure. What if we make a mistake? Or what if we're not good enough with money? These fears can be crippling and prevent us from taking action toward our goals. And here's the thing. No one wants to feel stupid about money. It's embarrassing to admit you don't know what you're doing, especially as an adult who's supposed to have it all figured out. So how can we overcome these challenges and accelerate our progress towards financial freedom? Let me share some practical strategies that have worked for me and thousands of others. One practical strategy is to break down our goals into smaller, manageable chunks. This makes it easier to stay focused and motivated, and helps us build momentum along the way. Instead of saying, I want to save $10,000 this year, try I'll save $833 each month, or even I'll save $192 each week. When I was climbing out of debt, I just started with the goal of $20 extra on each credit card. And those small wins snowballed into bigger victories over time. Another strategy is to create an accountability system, whether it's a budgeting app, a financial advisor, or a friend who shares similar goals. This helps us to stay on track and avoid procrastination. And when someone else knows your goals, you're 65% more likely to achieve them. And when you have regular check-ins with that person, your success rate jumps to 95%. My wife, Daisy, became my accountability partner, and her encouragement and occasional stern looks when I wanted to splurge kept me honest. We can also use visualization techniques to manifest our financial goals. By vividly imagining ourselves achieving success, picturing that debt-free life, or seeing that investment account hit 6 figures, we can boost our confidence and motivation. And I created a vision board with pictures of financial freedom, including my dream of providing security for my son Tyler. Every morning I'd look at it while brushing my teeth, cementing that vision in my mind. And finally, implement the pay yourself first principle. Before paying bills or buying groceries, automatically transfer a percentage of your income to savings or investments. This one habit alone has helped more people build wealth than almost any other strategy. And when I started doing this, even just with 5% of my income, my savings grew faster than they ever had before. Now, I want to reveal what I believe is the most powerful insight for achieving your financial goals, creating a complete system of accountability and visualization. One powerful tool that can significantly enhance your financial goal achievement is good budgeting software. These tools can help you track your expenses, create a budget, and set financial goals, making it easier to stay on track and achieve success. My personal favorite is YNAB, You Need a Budget, which helped me track over $3 million in business transactions and finally understand where every dollar was going. Before using this tool, I was basically guessing about my spending. And afterward, I had clarity and control. Having an accountability partner can also be a game changer. This could be a friend, family member, or even a financial advisor, someone who can provide guidance, support, and encouragement along the way. When I was getting started, my accountability partner was actually my wife, who would lovingly remind me of our goals whenever I was tempted to buy that shiny new gadget. Do you really need another fishing rod when we're trying to pay off the credit cards? Ouch, but she was right. Another key insight is the importance of celebrating your small wins. By acknowledging and celebrating your progress, you can stay motivated and engaged, and make it more likely that you'll achieve your long-term goals. Each milestone is evidence that you're making progress. So take a moment to recognize your achievement before moving to the next goal. When I paid off my first credit card, my wife and I celebrated with a nice dinner. Reasonably priced, of course. That celebration gave us the energy to tackle the next card. And when you combine practical tools with accountability and positive reinforcement, you create a powerful system that practically guarantees success. It's like having a GPS, a co-pilot, and regular pit stops on your financial journey. The first and most powerful secret is to completely rewire how you think about money. And here's a little story for you. Growing up, my dad would constantly refer to wealthy people as swindlers and say they must have taken advantage of a lot of good people to get what they had. Sound familiar? I carried these beliefs with me for years, not even realizing they were sabotaging my financial success. And think about it. How could I ever become wealthy if deep down I believed rich people were criminals? And it's not just what our parents say directly about money, it's also what they do. When I was a kid, I asked my dad if we could go look at dirt bikes at the local dealership. His immediate response, we can't afford one, and money doesn't grow on trees. And those words sank deep into my subconscious, and I actually caught myself repeating the exact same phrases to my own boys years later. The crazy thing is that this isn't just me. Our relationship with money is formed by what psychologists, actually what I call it, which is our monetary imprint gene. It's not really genetic. It's more like programming that gets installed in our brains during childhood. What money messages did you hear growing up? Drop them in the comments below. Most of us are programmed with phrases like, we can't afford it. Money doesn't grow on trees. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Money is the root of all evil. Here's the truth though. These are just beliefs, not facts, and they might be holding you back without you even knowing it. I remember when I was making over $140,000 a year as a pharmacist, yet I was still broke. And I had the yellow Corvette, the boat named Wet Dream, yeah I know, I don't know what I was thinking, and a house full of stuff I couldn't actually afford. You want to know why? Because my internal programming was completely misaligned with wealth. And on the outside, I was smiling, but on the inside, I was terrified of financial ruin. The pressure to pay for all those toys was almost unbearable. And want to know something else wild? Studies show that when people suddenly come into money, like lottery winners, the majority eventually return to their original financial state. Why? Because what matters isn't how much money you have, but what your beliefs about money are. My friend Chad is the perfect example. At 23, he had inherited over $500,000 from his grandmother. Man, can you believe it? He said to me, I'm 23 years old and rich. And 2 years later, that money was gone. All of it. He was back at his old job, living paycheck to paycheck because he didn't have the inner programming to manage external wealth. Want to change your money mindset? Try these proven steps. Identify negative money beliefs you heard growing up. Challenge them with new, empowering beliefs. Practice affirmations daily. Yes, they work. I'll share my story about this later. And surround yourself with people who have wealthy money mindsets. Notice when negative money thoughts arise and consciously replace them. I'll never tell my kids we can't afford it anymore. Instead, I've learned from Robert Kiyosaki, who says, never say you cannot afford something. That is a poor man's attitude. Ask how to afford it. And when you change how you think about money on the inside, your external financial reality will begin to transform. And the foundation of personal wealth is rooted in the fundamental belief that abundance and prosperity are the true nature of the world. But mindset alone isn't enough. You also need to understand how money really works in ways they never taught you in school. But before we jump in, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more content about crushing your financial goals. Let me ask you something. Did you ever take Financial Success 101 in high school or college? Of course not. Our education system teaches us to be good employees, not good money managers. Back in 2014, I was in a dismal place financially and emotionally. And after pulling out of bankruptcy in 2012, my wife and I had already sunk back into debt and were living paycheck to paycheck. The darkness surrounded me like some evil spirit, spreading stress and anxiety. Bill collector calls interrupted our family dinners, and my wife and I got into fierce arguments over money. Some days, it felt like I could barely breathe. I realized I needed to educate myself, not just earn more. Getting out of my predicament wasn't about simply making more cash. It was about understanding how money really works. And here's a shocking revelation that changed my life. The 401k plan that your employer promotes as your ticket to retirement, it might be a fraud. And I know that's financial blasphemy, but hear me out. Did you know that fees of just 1% can reduce your retirement savings by 28% over 35 years? That's almost 1/3 of your hard-earned dollars down the toilet. Or that for every dollar your employer matches in your 401k, studies show they reduce men's salaries by 90 cents and women's by 99 cents. When I discovered this, I was floored. I'd been putting money into a system designed to benefit everyone but me. Here's another myth. Your home is an asset. Robert Kiyosaki taught me that assets put money in your pocket, while liabilities take money out. So that beautiful home with the big mortgage, unless you're renting out rooms, it's actually draining your finances every month. Financial education isn't about knowing how to consolidate credit cards or make an extra mortgage payment. It's understanding the difference between assets and liabilities, how to make money work for you instead of you working for money, tax strategies that the wealthy use legally, and the power of passive income. And speaking of passive income, this was a game changer for me. When I bought my first rental property, I was just breaking even on the mortgage. But then I found another property that generated $400 monthly profit after expenses. That was money coming in while I slept. And this reminds me of a funny story. My first rental property experience wasn't exactly smooth. The tenant called at 2 a.m. because the toilet was overflowing. There I was in my pajamas, plunger in hand, thinking, is this really passive income? But once I hired a property manager, game changer. Now that's truly passive. There are 3 prongs to financial literacy: reducing expenses, growing savings, and increasing income. Most experts focus only on cutting expenses, the poverty mindset of restriction. But choreographing all 3 together, that's the wealth ballet I learned to dance. To start my education, I took a risk and invested $2,500 in a network marketing course on a credit card when I was already in debt. Risky? Yes. But that course opened my eyes to an entire financial world I never knew existed. I followed it up with a trip to Hawaii for a seminar that cost another $5,000. My wife thought I was crazy. Maybe I was, but that seminar facilitated a truly life-altering shift. I suddenly saw how my relationship with money had been holding me back, and more importantly, how I could change everything. The investment in your financial education might seem expensive now, but ignorance will cost you so much more in the long run. Once you've educated yourself about how money really works, it's time to unleash your inner entrepreneur, even if you have a full-time job. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow to start thinking like an entrepreneur. In fact, you probably already have an entrepreneurial spark inside you. Remember when you were a kid? Maybe you had a lemonade stand or sold Girl Scout cookies. Well, that entrepreneurial spirit is still there. We just beat it out of ourselves to fit into the corporate world. It took me years to rediscover my own entrepreneurial spark after becoming a pharmacist. My dead-end career in the rat race seriously dimmed my inner light. But in my 20s, before pharmacy school, I'd already shown signs of that entrepreneurial hustle. And here's a confession that I probably shouldn't share on YouTube, but what the heck. When I needed money for tuition, I did what any red-blooded Okie would do. I grew some high-quality indoor cannabis and sold it. Don't try this at home. Kids, it was a different era, and I don't recommend illegal venture. But it taught me the value of a good hustle and solving a market need. I'll never forget my own legitimate entrepreneurial awakening years later. I was driving down the freeway listening to a Jim Rohn motivational compilation because that's how this middle-aged man rocks out. And when I got a call from a guy named Chris, he had called before about some business opportunities, which I dismissed as just another sales pitch. But this time I picked up. And wow, that single decision completely changed my life. And Chris saw potential in me that I couldn't see in myself. And he became my mentor and helped me take my pharmacy discount card business national. And here's what I learned. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just improve it and make it available to the masses. You've probably been in the same industry for at least a decade, right? Why not use all that knowledge to create a side hustle? And as a pharmacist, I saw that pharmacy discount cards were helping uninsured patients get better prices. Digging deeper, I discovered that large retailers would pay transaction fees to benefit managers who would then pay marketers for driving customers to their stores. A light bulb went off in my head, and I could distribute these cards and make money while helping people save on prescriptions. I spent every available hour outside of my pharmacy shifts distributing these cards to doctors, dentists, veterinarians, anybody who would take them. And then I applied some social media advertising strategies, and bam, hundreds of affiliate referrals signed up, eventually adding up to big commissions. This ultimately led to starting my own discount card, New Lifespan RX. Now here's an exercise that changed my life. For the next 10 days, write down 10 ideas for what you could do with your current skills to serve a larger audience. That's 100 ideas total. Don't censor yourself. Let the crazy, outlandish ideas flow. And as James Altucher says, execute on as many as possible. The right idea will pick you. I know a painter named Austin who was thinking about going back to school to become a pharmacist, ironically, while I was trying to escape pharmacy. Instead, I helped him see that he could scale his existing painting business by hiring other painters. Today, he has over 10 crews working for him and more freedom than he ever imagined. And ask yourself, what skills do you already have that people would pay for? How could you package your expertise in a new way? And what problems can you solve that others struggle with? But having great ideas isn't enough. You also need to adopt the wealth mindset that separates the rich from the middle class. The wealthy think completely differently about money, time, and resources than the middle class do. Let me give you a perfect example from my own embarrassing experience. A few years ago, I had a rental property with nasty cat urine stained carpet that needed to be replaced before a new tenant moved in. Instead of hiring professionals, I decided to save money and do it myself. I canceled an important business meeting and spent 8.5 hours on my hands and knees installing carpet, something that would have taken professionals about 2 to 3 hours and cost around $250 at the time. And here's the kicker. At that point in my business, my time was worth about $2,300 an hour. And that means I essentially spent $19,550 to save $250. And that doesn't even count the missed business opportunity from the canceled meeting, which delayed several days of potential $1-million earnings. This is the epitome of middle-class thinking versus wealthy thinking. I was so focused on saving a few bucks that I couldn't see the forest for the trees. Growing up, I wasn't trained to think like a wealthy person. My father raised me on the do-it-yourself-and-save credo, which isn't always bad, but sometimes there are better ways to grow your resources than doing a job yourself. A wise mentor once told me, quit trying to learn how to do everything yourself and start trying to find the who's that already know how to do everything. This goes against the DIY mentality many of us in the middle class are taught. But when I shifted to this wealth-oriented mindset, I realized that delegating tasks and working with a team of experts was a far more efficient way to reach my goals. The middle class thinks, do it yourself to save money. Time is abundant. Money is scarce. Wealthy people are lucky or corrupt. Work harder to earn more. Live below your means. Save for retirement and a 401k. And your home is your biggest asset. The wealthy think, pay others to do what they do best. Time is scarce. Money is a renewable resource. Wealth comes from systems and leverage. And work smarter by focusing on high-value activities. And expand your means through multiple income streams. And create assets that generate passive income. And your home is a liability unless it generates income. Another huge difference is how the wealthy think about education. The middle class believes success comes from formal education and climbing the corporate ladder. The wealthy understand that targeted knowledge and serving the masses creates true wealth. Now, not to knock formal education, because there's different paths for different people. Some people are very, very self-motivated, but others, like my son is a great example, sometimes need that direction. Actually, my son Hunter was initially interested in following my path into marketing and decided not to go to college. After a few bumps on the road, he enrolled in college, but not for the degree, but for the structure actually that it provided in developing his work ethic. Now, at just 26 years old, he's built his own projects, small companies, and actually has his own little team around him to help him with sales funnels and video content. And here's a shocking observation. Visit the home of a middle-class friend, say, versus a wealthy mentor. Now, at my buddy's house, the first thing you'll see is his newest toys. His office is set up more like a video arcade than a place to work. And at my mentor's house, 2 entire walls of his pristine office are lined from top to bottom with non-fiction educational books. The rest of his elegant space feels like a room in a top-notch Ivy League school, a place for deep thought and mindful self-reflection. Even on days off, the wealthy are different. Most middle-class folks would rather party and be entertained on their days off than fill that time with education. It's common to hear things like, I hate Mondays, and thank God it's Friday, right? The wealthy mindset is the opposite. They'd rather educate themselves than waste precious time being mindlessly entertained. Want to adopt a wealthy mindset? Start by tracking how you spend your time and money. And are you investing in yourself and your future, or are you just consuming? Are you building assets or accumulating liabilities? Are you focusing on what you can save or what you can earn? Remember, your actions ultimately follow your thoughts. And when you think wealthy, you'll start making decisions that lead to wealth. But even with the right mindset, there's a dangerous obstacle waiting to derail your financial journey. Shiny object syndrome. Let me confess something. I'm the king of shiny object syndrome. And you know what that is, right? It's when you keep jumping from one exciting opportunity to the next without ever mastering anything. This relates to the challenge of lack of focus I mentioned earlier. Without a clear plan, we're susceptible to every shiny new opportunity that comes our way. I once spent 12 grand on a real estate training program while I was still developing my pharmacy discount card business. Then I spent another $65,000 on advanced real estate training. Just when you'd think I'd learned my lesson, I got distracted by senior assisted living facilities and blew thousands more. Don't get me wrong, education is valuable, but there's a difference between strategic learning and chasing every exciting opportunity that comes your way. Ever heard the saying, the riches are in the niches? That's because when you focus on one area long enough to become truly excellent, you create far more value than being mediocre at multiple things. Once you've learned to focus, you need to develop yourself into someone capable of taking consistent, powerful action. All right, let's get to number 6. Personal development isn't just about reading self-help books. It's about becoming the kind of person who can achieve extraordinary results. Visit the home of any successful person, and you'll notice something interesting. Their personal environment is designed for growth. One of my mentors has an office with walls lined with nonfiction books, a serene atmosphere for deep thinking and zero distractions. Compare that to my old life, where my so-called office was basically a glorified video game arcade. But personal development goes deeper than your surroundings. It's about understanding your why, the core motivation driving your financial goals. For me, my why was my son Tyler. We call him Lolo. He was born with a rare syndrome causing physical and mental delays. And one day my wife broke down crying and asked, who will take care of our son when we're gone? And that question cut straight to my heart. I realized that living paycheck to paycheck wasn't just affecting me, it was putting my son's future at risk. And I needed to create sustainable wealth that would outlive me and provide security for Tyler. And this story might sound familiar if you read my book, middle-class mindset escape plan. And in it, I shared how this moment with my wife in Chandler, Arizona completely transformed my perspective. Seeing her devoted to our son's care, making sure he received his G-tube feedings and proper nutrition, and arranging every therapy we could afford made me realize I needed a greater purpose for my financial journey. I wanted to make sure my retirement years were spent joyfully and stress-free, and also take care of Tyler and my family well after my passing. That's a why that gets me out of bed every morning, even on the tough days. And what's your why? Is it family security, freedom to travel, making an impact in the world? Whatever it is, it needs to be strong enough to pull you through challenges when motivation fades. Personal development also means building daily habits that compound over time. Daily reading, even just 10 to 15 minutes. Morning routines that set you up for success. Regular exercise and proper nutrition. Meditation or mindfulness practices. And when I began adding these practices into my life, my business growth accelerated dramatically. Why? Because success doesn't just happen to you. It happens because of who you become. And another crucial aspect of personal development is becoming self-aware. Understanding your strengths and weaknesses and paying close attention to your emotions allows you to control them no matter the circumstances. And this kind of discipline also gives you the motivation to develop habits for deeper growth. Some days I start with a cold water immersion, shocking my system with ice cold water. And does it feel good? Hell no, but it builds mental toughness and teaches me to embrace discomfort. That skill translates directly to business decisions where I need to push through fear or uncertainty. Nothing can substitute working with a great mentor who can see a grander vision for you than you can yourself. You can only grow so much on your own, and I speak from personal experience. I mentioned Chris earlier, the young whippersnapper who called me while I was driving. He was 28 years old at the time, a natural-born entrepreneur who caught notice of my marketing efforts. He saw hunger and determination in my work and decided to take a chance on me by offering a partnership. And Chris took me under his wing and taught me things about business and marketing that would have taken years or even decades to learn on my own. And things no one would ever learn from a business or marketing degree. And this ultimately led to new contracts, thousands of additional affiliates, and my business going national. And the point is, I took a chance. Many of my peers would have dismissed Chris as just a kid, but I recognized wisdom when I saw it. Top-tier results require some level of risk-taking and humility to learn from anyone who has what you want, regardless of age or background. Remember, personal development isn't selfish, it's necessary. And as they say on airplanes, put on your own oxygen mask before helping others. You can't pour from an empty cup. By becoming the best version of yourself, you can then turn around and help others do the same. But the final secret might surprise you. It's not just about what you get, but about what you give. And lastly, number 7, and the most important. Money alone is an empty pursuit, but money with purpose, that's powerful. The most fulfilled, wealthy people I know aren't just accumulating cash. They're using their resources to make a difference in the world. I'll never forget the day my mentee Leonard called me to share that he had finally quit his retail pharmacy job to run his own business. The excitement in his voice gave me chills. Helping him transform his life was far more satisfying than any car or vacation I'd ever purchased. True wealth isn't measured by what you have, but by your impact on others. And ironically, when you focus on creating value for others, the money tends to follow naturally. And this is why I am so passionate about financial education, because I know firsthand the stress and anxiety that financial struggles cause. And I remember the sleepless nights, the bill collectors interrupting family dinners, and the arguments with my wife about money. Financial freedom isn't just about buying fancy stuff. It's about eliminating that stress and creating options. It's about having the resources to solve problems, help others, and live on your own terms. So, to recap, achieving financial goals quickly requires a combination of planning, motivation, resources, and the right mindset. By implementing these 7 secrets and overcoming common challenges, you can accelerate your progress towards financial freedom. The time to take action is now. Don't wait until next month or next year to start your journey to financial success. Remember, your wealth journey is about becoming someone who deserves that wealth and can use it to make a meaningful impact. Thanks for watching, and I'd love to hear about your financial goals in the comments. Let's support each other on this journey to financial freedom. And check out this video that YouTube thinks you will like. And if you found value in this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more content on crushing your financial goals. I'm JD Gibson, and I believe in you. Now, go crush those financial goals.